On this episode of Team Pilipinas. How does it feel to be trained by the coach of Michael Phelps?
This one practice, I was just swimming and Bob pulled me out of the water and he goes, there's someone who wants to, help you out after practice. And I go, oh, okay. And I looked over and Michael Phelps is like, I was like, hi.
We catch up with triathlete Kim Remolino.
Hiwa-hiwalay po yung class ko. So, may days po na tag-iisa lang po yung subjects ko and very flexible po naman po yung school ko. So, napaprioritize pa rin po yung training ko.
We talk with a sports psychologist who helps unburden Team Philippines.
She was very frustrated. She was very depressed. There's a lot of uncertainty, anxiety, but eventually she was able to cope very well.
And find out how diet helps keep your weight down and your strength up when you're a world-class athlete.
Para saan pa yung pagkain ko ng tama? Para saan pa yung pagsunod ko dun sa sports nutrition regimen na dapat kong gawin? Hindi ko nga alam kung kailan pa ako ulit lalaro. Hindi ko nga alam kung yung training na pinagagagawa ko ngayon meron pa bang side-side.
Welcome to Team Pilipinas. I am Sel Guevara. Michael Phelps is by far the greatest Olympian of all time, with 23 gold medals, 3 silvers, and 2 bronzes. Team Pilipinas proudly introduces you to Chloe Isleta, the young Filipino swimmer who is trained by Michael Phelps' coach, Bob Bowman.
Hi, Chloe. Welcome to Team Pilipinas and glad to have you on the program today.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. But first, can you walk us through as to how you started in swimming and what inspired you to be an athlete in this sport?
Actually, my ate, she found a flyer at school to join a swim team. And at that age, I copied everything she did. So, so when she started swimming, I was like, oh, I want to do that too. And then when I started swimming, they said I was too young, so I couldn't swim and join the team. So I would swim in the little tiny corner where the stairs were every day at practice and just swim there, even though I wasn't allowed to. And they're like, you're here every day, just join the team. So then I joined the team after.
Many started a specific sport at a very young age, eventually knowing that this field wasn't for them. But on your part, was there a point in your life or career that you firmly believe that you've taken the right path and no matter what, you're taking the leap of faith?
I think, of course, at first I just did it for fun. But then when I started actually studying the sport, seeing other swimmers work on their underwaters, their technique, I think I have a chance to do it too if I work hard and focus on technique. And every day I would train, I wouldn't miss a practice. And when I started getting best times, improving and having fun with my friends, I was like, I think this is the sport for me. And I did basketball when I was younger and that wasn't good. That wasn't good.
A typical Filipino.
Yeah.
What was that one achievement that made you realize that I'm good at this and I can take it to the next level?
I think it was when I was very young. I think I was trying to get an A cut for an age group time. And once I trained, I finally got it. And I was like, oh, I think I can keep getting better and better and better. And as I started getting older, my time started to drop. And I think what really made it when I thought, oh my gosh, I think I can actually be good at this is when I qualified for SEA Games. And I was like, wow, I think I'm gonna do great. I'm gonna do my best times. And then I medaled at SEA Games and I'm like, oh wow, I think I'm heading in the right track.
Since you mentioned about the SEA Games, in 2019, you earned the opportunity to represent Philippines at the Southeast Asian Games. How did it come about? Can you tell us more about how you became part of the national team?
When I was young, so my mom and my dad, they were born and raised in the Philippines. They went to St. Paul for school, and my mom moved here in the States when she was 20 to find a job because she needed to find a job. And when I started swimming, I realized that a lot of my roots are in the Philippines. All of my family's in the Philippines. I visit in the Philippines, and I want that part of me to stay with me. So I wanted to represent the Philippines, and in order to make that team, I had to train hard. Everyone on the Philippine team is very fast and hardworking. So I knew that I had to keep training in order to be in that level.
For someone who grew up in the United States, I bet it feels surreal to be back in the motherland. How was that experience to don the country's colors and get to compete in front of your countrymen? Where do you rank that milestone in your life as an individual?
You know, swimming back in the Philippines, I really felt at home at SEA Games. There was a big crowd of people. And one of my friends was like, Chloe, that's like a lot of people, they're cheering for you. And I'm like, that's my family. They're so big. That's all my family. And actually, that was the first time that my whole family got to see me race in person. So swimming in front of them, swimming in front of the Philippines for the Philippines was a huge honor.
Let's go into specifics here. How was the level of competition when you competed in the SEA Games? What are the few aspects of the competition itself that caught you off guard?
The intensity. It's of course everyone's there, they're having fun, but when you're in the ready room getting ready to go to finals, it's very serious and everyone's focused. So everyone is, having their own game plan. And I was like, wow, I'm really in the big leagues. Everyone is so fast. I just need to focus on my own race. And I think it really hit me in the ready room on my first event when everyone was very focused. I was like, wow, I'm in the big leagues now.
So is it safe to say that your SEA Games run or stint served as a gauge as to where you are in your development?
Yes, it was. I think that was a good starting point. And from then and now, I look back and I think of a lot of things that I can work on and improve because that was my first SEA Games. So I was a baby. And now since I'm a little bit, I know a little bit more about SEA Games. I'm not completely experienced, but I did the first SEA Games. I think I'm a little bit more ready and mentally prepared for the next one.
What was the assessment that you got from your coach, Bob Bowman, after the SEA Games?
After SEA Games, you get that coach talk where he's like, oh, you did very well. You did this very well. But here are things you need to work on. Let's work on them right now so that you can get better. So he did praise me on the good times and how I swam it, but he also critiqued me and saying, you need to go faster off the wall. You need to do more underwaters. You need to accelerate through the wall when you swim. You need to work on that more. You need to get stronger, lift weights. So my next meet, I can fix what I could have done better.
Speaking of Bob, what was it like to get to work with Bob Bowman, who mentors world-class swimmers like Michael Phelps?
Oh, wow. The first time I met him, I was very nervous, but yeah, he's a tough coach. Of course, he trains the best swimmers in the world, and going into it, I knew that, but I was mentally prepared for that. But when I actually did it, it was 10 times harder. He's very technical. He wants you to train more. He's really specific on things, on what to eat, how to train, when to train, how to visualize, prepare for your races. He's very specific in those details. So basically everything you did, you really had to focus and pay attention. So he's an amazing coach, and that's the reason why he's one of the best.
Have you ever had the chance to interact or train with Michael Phelps?
Yes, he actually.
How was
helped me
that?
with
How
my
was that? Can you
backstroke.
tell us more about it?
Yes, there was this one practice. I was just swimming, and Bob pulled me out of the water, and he goes, "There's someone who wants to, help you out after practice." And I go, "Oh, okay." And I looked over. Michael Phelps is like, I was like, "Hi."
Blown
I
away?
was like, compose. But I was like, okay. And then after practice, he goes, "You need to work on your catch. You need to learn how to pull with your lats. You need to, tempo. You need to rotate your hips." And I was listening, but I was in awe because he knew every detail of swimming. And that's how amazing and professional and one of the best swimmers in the world.
We catch up with triathlete Kim Remolino.
Hiwa-hiwalay po yung class ko. So, may days po na tag-iisa lang po yung subjects ko and very flexible po naman po yung school ko. So, napaprioritize pa rin po yung training ko.
We talk with a sports psychologist who helps unburden Team Philippines.
She was very frustrated. She was very depressed. There's a lot of uncertainty, anxiety, but eventually she was able to cope very well.
Bahagi na ng buhay nating mga Pilipino ang sports. Mula sa panahon ng unos, sa tamis ng tagumpay, sa kabila ng pagbabago ng buhay, ang Philippine Sports Commission ay patuloy na maglilingkod sa sambayanan at atletang Pilipino.
With time running out, how many more Filipino athletes will catch the last bus to the Tokyo Olympics? Triathlete Kim Remolino is hoping to be one of them. Dennis Principe caught up with student athlete in Cebu.
Hello, my name is Dennis Principe and you are watching Team Pilipinas, the sport of triathlon. Ating pag-uusapan na today and joining us is considered as the future of Philippine triathlon. He settled for a silver doon po sa pag-host natin ng 2019 Southeast Asian Games. Kasama po natin direct from Cebu, Andrew Kim Remolino. Kim, magandang araw sa iyo at welcome sa Team Pilipinas.
Magandang araw din po.
Alright, at siguro ngayon bago natin pag-usapan yung mga plano mo, yung batang-batang karir, unahin muna natin yung pagkumusta sa iyo. Kumusta na yung kalagayan sa ngayon?
Sa ngayon po, okay naman po. And hindi naman po na sa-stop yung training ko and also yung studies ko po ngayon. Bali, tuloy-tuloy pa rin po naman yung dalawa po. So, all is good naman po.
Okay, nabanggit mo, maganda yan. Studies, mukhang talagang
Yes,
meron ka rin meron ka rin talagang objective na matapos yung pag-aaral mo?
Yes po. Meron po talaga.
Okay. Anong grade ka na ba ngayon?
Bali, nasa second year po. Second
Okay.
year po.
Kala ko parang mga grade 3 ka pa lang ata eh. Second year, okay.
College.
College, alright. Anong course mo?
Bali ngayon, pumasok po muna ako sa cybersecurity.
Uy, cybersecurity. Bakit yun naman na naisip mo kurso?
Bali, one of the, parang siya po yung isa sa nagte-trend po na course po ngayon. And parang yung takbo po ng mundo ngayon is more on focus sa technology na din po. So parang malaking opportunity po na para makapasok din po sa ganong klase po na career po.
And how are you managing yung time mo in terms of pag-aaral at saka dito sa training mo?
Bali, okay naman po kasi parang hiwa-hiwalay po yung class ko. So may days po na tag-iisa lang po yung subjects ko and very, very flexible po naman po yung school ko. So parang napaprioritize pa rin po yung training ko besides sa pag-aaral ko po.
Right now, ito nga, nagtitraining ka, no? For one, I just don't know kung meron pa rin chances sa Olympics, but definitely part of your preparations ay itong sa may Vietnam SEA Games. Right now ba yung Olympics, ano ba? May chance pa ba kung sakasakali?
Bali as of now po, parang malabo na po kasi nga po, yung hinahabol lang po namin is yung wild card. So if may ibang countries na mag-outperform po sa amin, so malaking chance po na hindi po kami makapasok. Pero if based on point system po, kung malaki po sana yung points namin, yun po kami lalaki yung chance na makapasok po. Pero as of now po, sobrang late po ng points namin. Medyo malayo po kami sa sa top 70 po sa world. So parang malabo na po makasali sa this coming Olympics po.
Pero yung wild card na binabanggit mo, ano yun? Doon ba kahit pa paano may chance pa rin?
Bali yun po yung tinatarget namin. Pero yun nga po, bali nag-cancel po yung race this upcoming June 20 po sana. Isa po yun sa parang basehan po para makasali po kami sa wild card. Pero yun po, bali nawala po siya. So hindi na po, parang nawala na po kami ng chance makapasok sa Olympics po this year.
Ano ba yung June 20 na na-cancel?
Sa Japan po, sa Gamagori po.
Alright. Okay. Galing ka rin sa Japan, ano? Isang event, Olympic qualifying tournament. Perhaps siguro yan na yung masabi natin pinakamalaking event na sinalihan mo dahil nga nakataya rin yung pagiging Olympian. If ever, ano yung naging experience mo dun sa event na yun kahit na marami ka nang sinalihan din ng mga international competitions?
Yes po, para na-remind lang po ako na dapat po para asikasuhin po lahat po ng minor details po, yung mga minute details mo na parang kahit sobrang liit po ng detalye, dapat po pag-aralan. And also isana yung sarili po, especially sa climate, sa climate po, sa weather. Kasi sobrang importante, sobrang nakaka-affect po siya sa race. So kahit yung mga maliit na bagay po na yun is parang dapat ko po talagang pagsanayan and also i-train po para mas lalaki po yung chance ko na makapasok po sa the next few Olympics po siguro.
Yung Manila SEA Games, first time mo, no, na sumali sa Southeast Asia Games. How was that experience para sa iyo? And if ever ba meron kang malaking napulot doon, or siguro sabihin natin na mga mistakes na gusto mong itama pagdating dito sa Vietnam?
Yes po. Bali parang sobrang overwhelming po nung feels po kasi sobrang daming nanonood po na kababayan po and sobrang daming nag-cheer. Parang yun po ata yung race na sobrang daming nanonood po na based on my experience po. So parang nakaka-overwhelm po siya. And one of the things na I learned po is parang yung sa sighting po sa swim. Kasi nung second loop po ng swim, medyo nalayo po ako sa buoy po. Bali, medyo nawala po ako. So, yun po yung pinag-practicean ko po ngayon, yung sighting po sa swim and also yung tamang pacing sa bike and sa run po.
For a while, Kim, no, nagkaroon ka ng isang malaking pagsubok, no, challenge, no. A few months ago, nasunugan ka ng bahay, kayo, ng family mo. It's good, safe naman kayo lahat, and apparently mukhang nakaka-recover na rin kayo. Pero nakakalungkot nung sa sunog, yung pinakita mo, no, yung medal mo, yun lang yung halos yung na-save mo at nasunog pa, no, yung kalahating part, ano. How was that experience para sa iyo? Siguro nung nakita mo yung nung nakita mo yung medal mo na gano'n, ano yung unang pumasok sa iyo sa isipan mo?
Bali nung nakita ko po yung medal, parang sobrang tuwa po. Tapos tinawag ko po sina mama, sina papa. Pinakita ko po na parang nag-survive pa po talaga yung medal. Tapos parang ni-raise ko po sa kanila kasi parang nakakatuwa lang po na sa lahat po talaga po na nasunog is yun pa po talaga yung nag-survive. Parang nakita ko pa po talaga yung medal na yun. Parang hindi po nasira yung medal mismo kundi yung tie niya lang po, yung parang lanyard niya po. So parang yung medal is parang may burnt marks pero hindi po siya totally sunog na nare-recognize pa din po. So sobrang saya po kasi pinaghirapan ko din po yung medal na din po. And also parang isa po yun sa pinakamataas ko pong award na as an athlete po. So parang nakaka-overwhelm na nakita ko pa rin po yung medal na po yung mismo po.
Shall we say, Kim, na nakatulong din yun para kahit paano mabawasan yung sakit na yung nangyari sa inyo na kayo yun nga, nasunugan at that time?
Yes po, I think parang dagdag moral booster na din po kasi parang yun nga po, nanginayang po kami sa lahat po ng gamit. And nung nakita ko po yun is parang sobrang nakakatuwa po kasi at least may isang gamit po ako na parang naging memorabilia po na kung saan parang siya po yung naging sum up po lahat po ng medals na nasunog ko. Parang siya po yung parang naging simbolo po sa lahat po ng wins ko po dati po. So parang siya po yung nag-unite po sa lahat po ng awards ko. So parang yun na po yung nagiging image na nakikita ko sa medal po na yun po.
And lastly, anong next sa'yo? Ngayon, anong mga plano mo? Ano yung pwedeng abangan sa'yo, no? Ng mga sumusubaybay sa'yo pagdating dito sa career mo as a triathlete?
Bali, I'm getting ready for Subic po this September. Kung matutuloy po is yun po yung isa sa pinakamalaking race na paghahandaan ko po. And mostly po, may mga tune-up races po ako dito locally. Actually, tomorrow po may race po ako, open water swim. So yun po yung pinaghahandaan ko po ngayon. And also parang nagiging tune-up race na din po yun para sa upcoming races po. Especially na hindi po ako nakapag-race for the past few months po, except for Japan po. So parang ginagalaw ko lang po yung sarili and katawan ko para masanay po ulit sa kung paano po mag-race po.
Andrew Kim Remolino, the future of Philippine triathlon. Maraming salamat sa iyo and good luck.
Thank you po.
Training for an international tournament can be very challenging alone. So you can just imagine what our athletes and everyone else right now are going through at the moment. Welcome to Team Pilipinas on PTV4. My name is Sel Guevara, and joining with me today is the head psychologist of PSC MSAS, Miss Karen Trinidad. Ma'am, we know that we are in a very unique situation. And, you know, in the case of our athletes, they're faced with their own limitations, just like everyone else during this pandemic. So how do you guide and help them through this time or this crisis that we are in? And how do you help them navigate their careers or say their mental health at the same time?
Okay, so as of the moment, actually, we do telepsychology or the online counseling. No? So the sports psychology professionals are ready to attend to the athlete's mental health in terms of online, no? Because everybody's online. So online, so they can call, they can text, they can message us via chat or even in text. No? So we posted our contact numbers as well as our Facebook and Instagram. So as soon as the pandemic started, as early as March 2020, we already started posting infographics. No, infographic in a sense that we put information in terms of tips, how can they cope, and also in terms of how can they contact us. Aside from the infographics, we also did webinars. No, webinars in terms of keeping mental health in check. By May, we already started the regular session per team. So we have the Kamustahan session. They started from May until August. And then we have keeping motivated or how to keep motivated. So that's July to September. And then setting goals, which is very crucial for the athletes during pandemic. And then getting in the zone. So we have several topics. In a sense that so that we will know, no, in terms of the right mindset and how to help them properly.
Speaking of the right mindset, what kind of mentality are you instilling to these individuals so that they can have better coping mechanisms when it comes to their new environment, their new, I would say, dynamic? Because there's more isolation than they've ever had before. And considering that sport is a very interactive activity,
we are telling them that this is the time that they develop more in terms of their mental toughness. No? So we are in the situation that no one was expecting to be in, no, in the pandemic. So at the start of the pandemic, a lot of negative impact, no, like in terms of lack of access, in terms of the sporting event, okay, in terms of the health concerns, okay, financial worries, and so on. So now we are telling them to look at the bigger picture. No? So even if they are at home, they can maximize the resources that they have. No? So dito, they started to already make use of whatever they have. So resourcefulness, creativity is being developed, in terms of life skill is being developed, and also appreciate even the simplest thing that they don't appreciate before.
Okay, so you are instilling gratefulness for. So, what are the things that you make them or influence them to be grateful for?
Okay, like quality time with the family is one, because before when they are training, of course, their time is all with the training. Okay, so aside from the quality time, second is that appreciate every day. No, like waking up, being healthy is another thing that you should be grateful of. Before, we tend to neglect in terms of our health, but now with the pandemic, we tend to look at the side of ourselves na parang, uy, we are healthy and so on. No? So things like that, like being able to exercise more or less on your own time, because before they have a very rigid schedule. No? But at the same time, keeping their discipline, no? And also having that kind of mindset that even if no one is looking, no, they are disciplined enough in terms of what to do and how to do it properly.
With regards to your experiences with these athletes who are training, were there any specific events or instances when you were working with them that you felt that you really made an impact towards their mindset, mentality, and how they're able to cope with the situation?
Probably, I think a good example can be Heidelin Diaz, because she's very outspoken in terms of the help of the psychology to her. No? During that time, July, there was an announcement in terms of the postponement of the Olympics. No? So it was very difficult for her to accept it, because she prepared for 4 years. As we all know, Olympics is 4 years to prepare.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in terms of that, we had a regular schedule. No? So during the first few session with her, it was more of very frustration. That she was very frustrated. She was very depressed. There's a lot of uncertainty, anxiety. No? But eventually, she was able to cope very well, no? By telling her that at least if it is postponed or more or less canceled for a year, you have more time to prepare for it. No? Life is more important than winning medal. Okay? And then third, also to strategize. No? To strategize, because you are given more time.
We influence, convince people that when it comes to physical health and physical fitness, prevention is key. But what I noticed, this is just a personal observation, when it comes to mental health, it's only addressed through cure. It's like it's very common here to address it only when it's there. But when you feel like there's nothing wrong in your head, it's like you don't address it. So what is the importance of mental health?
Mental health should be as much, no, as physical health, no, because it is very important in terms of when you talk about health, there's a tendency for us to focus only on the physical. However, we should also consider the mental health as part of a whole well-being. Okay? So mental health is vital not only for athletes but also for everyone, no? Because it impacts our thoughts, our behavior, as well as our emotions. No? So of course, our thoughts is very important, because that would more or less help us motivate, okay? As well as in terms of our thoughts. If it's not guarded or if you have a wrong mindset, then eventually your behavior and your emotion will also be not congruent in terms of what you want to be. And when you are mentally healthy, you enjoy your life and your environment. no, as well as the people in it. If you're also mentally healthy, you also better cope. You also better in terms of coping, especially during this difficult situation. So during this pandemic, it is very crucial that we should take care of our mental health.
Thank you very much, Miss Karen Trinidad, for joining us today here at Team Pilipinas. And we appreciate your hard work and guiding our athletes, our coaches, and our teams all the way through this pandemic and these uncertain times. Thank you very much for your time.
And find out how diet helps keep your weight down and your strength up when you're a world-class athlete.
Para saan pa yung pagkain ko ng tama? Para saan pa yung pagsunod ko dun sa sports nutrition regimen na dapat kong gawin? Hindi ko nga alam kung kailan pa ako ulit lalaro. Hindi ko nga alam kung yung training na pinagagagawa ko ngayon meron pa bang side-side.
Bahagi na ng buhay nating mga Pilipino ang sports. Mula sa panahon ng unos, sa tamis ng tagumpay, sa kabila ng pagbabago ng buhay, ang Philippine Sports Commission ay patuloy na maglilingkod sa sambayanan at atletang Pilipino.
On this segment of Team Pilipinas, we have as our guest the high-performance dietitian of athletes like weightlifter Hylden Diaz, the Philippine Taekwondo team, the Association of Boxing Alliances, and golfer Miguel Tabuena, among others. And she's also a graduate in sports nutrition with the International Olympic Committee, Coach Janeth Aro. Coach Janeth, how did you get into sports nutrition?
Actually, sir, when I was in college, I was taking nutrition, just, yung basic nutrition course for undergrad college. But I was also into a business back then. I was a managing partner for a fitness center na community-based. And then I was also an athlete. So, nung time na yon, medyo na-peak yung interest ko, na sabi ko, uy, parang magandang i-connect itong tatlo kasi athlete ako, tas marami akong tinutulungan na gusto magpapayat while I was still studying undergraduate course in nutrition. And during that time kasi, sir, medyo konti pa lang yung nagpa-practice, and I haven't really heard someone who was into sports talaga, or even at least fitness enthusiast, na nutritionist. So sabi ko, this would be a good opportunity for me to venture into kasi medyo mababa pa yung competition at that time, and talagang nandun yung interest ko dahil nga personal yung experience ko na kulang talaga yung support sa nutrition even as an athlete.
During all this time that you've been practicing this profession, do you have favorite clients, favorite athletes that you work with?
Siguro yung favorite, more on ngayon ko na sila na-discover na I'm already coaching elite level athletes. Favorite ko sila in a sense na I am amazed not only by their physical capabilities but also of their mindset, of their persistence, of their maturity on how they approach life. Yun, doon na nag-evolve yung parang idea ko why I like working with a certain athlete. Siyempre, nung nagsisimula ako, nagustuhan ko rin po yung pag-handle sa mga young athletes kasi iba rin yung needs nila. Pero sa ngayon, yung mga elite level athletes po na tinutulungan ko talaga ang mas nag-capture nung interest, no?
For all of these athletes that you train and have as clients, pare-pareho ba yung mga dietary requirements nila?
Actually, no. They have different needs. It depends on the type of sport or event and their individual goals or health goals. Kasi even, halimbawa, sir, same sport. Kunyari, magka-team, no? Basketball team. So, yung need ng isang sentro is different from the power forward. So, depende talaga yan from doon sa individual goals saka sa event, no? Ganon din, halimbawa kung boxing, iba yung needs ng isang professional boxer compared to the amateur boxer. So it's highly individualized. And we cannot, no, I don't give a templated meal plan na parang proforma na, ito, sundan mo to, tapos paglipat ko na ibang athlete, ito, sundan mo rin tong same athlete. No, I don't do it like that. Talagang highly individualized po.
How much of a factor is diet as far as optimizing a player's performance?
The truth is, based na rin to sa natutunan ko sa IOC and which I can also attest, no, with based on my experience, napakaliit na factor lang talaga ng nutrition. Many would think that 80% nutrition, 20% training. But actually, nasa babang-baba na. Kung meron tayong tawag nito hierarchy, no, na magde-determine ng performance ng isang athlete, medyo nasa baba ang nutrition. So, ang talent, unang-una yan, syempre, no? Pero nasa baba ang nutrition. But, given that if an athlete competes at an elite level, lahat yan talented, lahat yan trainable, lahat yan motivated, yung maliliit na aspects such as nutrition really plays a very crucial part on the actual performance of the athlete. So, gaano siya ka-importante? Definitely, it's very important kasi alam mo naman, pag elite level, lahat yan magagaling na. Pero yung mga minute details sa training program nila and sa habits nila will play a crucial role on how far they will achieve towards the competition level.
Let's say in a year, I will only compete twice. So I will only put that regimen maybe closer to the date of the competition before actually so that I can get the optimization of the program.
Yes. Actually, yan po ang common mistake ng mga Filipino athletes. They only tend to focus on their nutrition as they get closer already to their competition, which is wrong. Kasi dapat ang nutrition piniperiodize, meaning nakapattern siya after dun sa training regimen na ginagawa nila. So, which means, yes, flexibility towards their eating regimen is allowed. But then again, when we look at the macro perspective of the program design in terms of nutrition, it should be patterned after to the training that they're currently doing. So, just like physical training, tinitrain din po talaga yung nutrition. So, hindi pwedeng, halimbawa, an athlete will be competing in 4 months time, no? Meron siyang 4 months to prepare. Ang tendency ng karamihan, on the last month, saka lang sila mag-pay attention sa nutrition. Hindi dapat ganon. Dapat, kung 4 months kang nagpe-prepare, 4 months ka din dapat mag-pay attention sa nutrition mo. Pero po, majority of my athletes, year-long yung nutrition program na ini-implement namin. Again, patterned after the training regimen that they're doing with particular attention on the particular date of the competition.
Pagdating naman sa post-competition regimens and dietary requirements, does an athlete have to slack off? Kumbaga okay, tapos na ako mag-compete sige, pwede na magsinutil ulit.
They can enjoy some time for quite some time, pero hindi po sobrang haba. Because I always remind them na ikaw din ang mahihirapan as an athlete to regain, number 1, yung optimum body composition kung magpapabaya ka. As we all know, body composition is very crucial for the performance of an athlete, and yun po ang unang-unang nagsasacrifice kapag ka nagsaslack off sila right after as a competition, especially pag nanalo yung athlete na yon. So they know that very well, that yes, I do allow them to enjoy for quite a bit, quite some time. But then again, I always remind them when it's time to go back to their regimen. Kasi hindi pwedeng magpabaya.
What are your observations vis-a-vis pre-pandemic and during the pandemic as far as dietary and performance aspects of the athletes that you handle?
Actually, pre-pandemic, everybody, including me as their nutrition coach, was already, we are so focused already for the competitions that were lined up for the year. So, early 2020. Tapos, so syempre, yung nutrition nila, naka-program na. Tapos, sobrang focus din nila sa training. Gano'n. And then suddenly, nung nagkaroon po ng pandemic, ang tendency parang natulala lahat, no? Ganun din sila. Parang hindi na nila alam kung anong gagawin nila. And it affected their food intake heavily. Talagang, syempre, parang wala na silang purpose na parang para saan pa yung pagkain ko ng tama, para saan pa yung pagsunod ko dun sa sports nutrition regimen na dapat kong gawin. Hindi ko nga alam kung kailan pa ako ulit lalaro. Hindi ko nga alam kung yung training na pinagagagawa ko ngayon, meron pa bang saysay, or para saan. So naapektuhan din talaga yung, hindi lang yung mindset, hindi lang yung physical condition nila, but also even their eating habits. That's why I mentioned po na nung mga panahon na yon, talagang ang naging foundation ng nutrition program ay hindi na yung nutrition program, kundi yung patience and compassion to these athletes that I'm handling, so that I will be able to tweak the program as much as I can in order to give leeway to their, parang sabihin na nating unstable condition, no? Kasi ano talaga pagbibigyan mo rin, iisipin mo rin yung kanilang mga temptations, as a human being, na talagang may epekto sa pagkain. So basically, sinasabayan ko kung nasan sila at each stage, not only of their weight loss or body composition goals, but also at the stage of their mental preparedness, and particularly kung nasan sila sa buhay nila ngayon. Parang ganun po yung nagiging approach ko basically sa nutrition ng mga athletes na tinutulungan ko. I really dig deep down, I really take the time to know the athlete, know what he or she is going through, where she is right now in terms of motivation, and then I tweak the program as we go along the way.
What do you do with athletes that are matigas ang ulo?
Pag matigas po ang ulo, unang-una kong ginagawa ay kinakausap ko. Pero hindi ko pinipilit na sumunod sa program. I just remind the particular athlete of what really the bigger picture is. Ano ba yung goal natin? Ba't natin ito ginagawa? Hindi dahil gusto kitang sumunod sa akin, but ikaw mismo ang may goal para sa sarili mo at minsan maging para sa pamilya mo. So parang nire-redirect ko yung situation dun sa bigger goal. Most of the time, yung ma-involve lang yung head coach, sufficient na po yon para mabalik sa tamang path yung athlete na yon.
Coach, it's always a good thing to learn more about how nutrition and sports are actually intertwined with each other. So thank you very much for joining us on Team Pilipinas, Coach Janet Aro.
Bahagi na ng buhay nating mga Pilipino ang sports. Mula sa panahon ng unos, sa tamis ng tagumpay, sa kabila ng pagbabago ng buhay, ang Philippine Sports Commission ay patuloy na maglilingkod sa sambayanan at atletang Pilipino.
Mark Striegel will never forget his first outing as a Philippine Sambo athlete. It netted him a gold medal in the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. Will he get a chance to do it again?
MMA is already a multifaceted sport. You get a touch of this and a touch of that. But how did your stint with the national Sambo team help you grow as a martial artist?
After that Korean tournament, I really just focused on judo and upper body throws and Greco throws, Greco wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, judo throws, offense and defense. And that's something that I do have a bit of training in that area, but not as extensive as my freestyle wrestling background, where we're attacking the legs and scrambling from there. After Korea, it was a good opportunity for me to really focus on, upper body mechanics and grappling from the clinch, which is something that I hadn't done formerly. So it was good, and definitely I do believe it translated into my MMA game. Even though in MMA we're not using the gi, there's still a lot of techniques that you can use with or without the gi.
We just want to get a clear picture as to where we are in terms of development and progress when it comes to Sambo. As a person who has seen different variations of the martial arts spectrum, both at the regional and global level. Do you see the Philippines having the potential to go up against powerhouse countries in Sambo?
I definitely believe so. You know, it's just a matter of putting it all together. You know, we have great judo programs, you know, at UST and some of these other schools. You know, we have great judo programs. We have an amazing boxing culture. We have a great national wrestling team. And what is Sambo? What is MMA? It's a hybrid of all of these martial arts, you know. We have a great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu national team that does very well internationally too. So I definitely think that we have a bright future in Sambo, in both combat Sambo and sports Sambo. And, you know, it's just a matter of time before we capture even more gold medals internationally.
What do you consider the strengths of Filipino athletes in Sambo, and what do you see as weakness or areas we should work on in order to get the Philippine team to the next level?
That's a tough question. I think strengths, you know, Filipinos, we have that do or die mentality. That's fighting spirits, of course. That's certainly a strength. I think I was just talking to my wife about this last night, actually, and we were talking about what are Filipinos, what are our genetic advantages, and I think agility is a huge thing. You know, of course, we don't really excel in basketball because we don't have the genetics and height and the power, but we have the speed and agility, and that's why in sports where there are weight classes like boxing, like wrestling, like MMA, we do excel because we have you know, that pound for pound agility and strength. You know, as far as areas that, you know, we need to work on, I think it's just a matter of time. You know, just more consistent training, more exposure, and more programs. You know, more school programs. You know, more grassroots level training and developing programs. And I hope to be a part of that when I retire and walk away from combat sports. You know, just more youth programs and getting people exposed to sports at a young age, because really it's in sports you can't pick up, you know, whether it's basketball, whether it's wrestling, you can't pick up something at 18 years old and just be a superstar in it and really excel if you haven't, you know, unless you're 1 in a billion athlete, you know, where you're just a complete freak like a Deontay Wilder that can, you know, go and medal in the Olympics after just like less than a year of training in boxing. Unless you're a crazy 1 in 10 billion athlete, you know, you can't do that. So really, you know, for athletics and sports, it's very important to start at a young age, very young, which is why when I heard about that bill that they tried to pass with banning combat sports from combat athletes from doing international competition, you know, it angered me so much, because if that bill had been passed, you know, that would have set us back, you know, 10 years. You know, we're finally starting to get some momentum, and we just got to keep pushing forward. And then they tried to pass that bill, and I was like, oh my God, what are you guys doing? Like, the guys passing this bill don't understand sports, you know, especially combat sports.
As of this interview, Sambo hasn't been included yet in the list of events for the 2021 SEA Games in Hanoi. Do you think this is a missed opportunity not only for the Philippines but also for the SEA Games if it doesn't make it to the official list of events this year?
The thing with the SEA Games is it always depends on the hosting country, right? To choose the sports that they want to include, and for whatever reason, Vietnam, they haven't put it on the official list of sports yet. So I certainly hope they do. But if they don't, you know, so be it. And I know there'll be a ton of international Sambo competitions that are just as big, you know, whether they're in Russia, whether they're the Asian Championships, whether they're, you know, some other games. So, yeah, the future's bright for Philippine Sambo, and I'm looking to compete regardless. But I really do hope that they include it in the Vietnam SEA Games.
And that is this week's episode of Team Pilipinas. I am Sel Guevara. Many thanks to G1 Lodge Design Hotel for their support for Team Pilipinas in Baguio City. Join us every Saturday at 4 p.m. only here on PTV para sa Bayan. And always remember, we are all on the same team. We are all Team Pilipinas. See you next week.